television completely by accident, because I was friends with someone in a drama class who had a job doing photocopying at TVNZ. I needed a summer job at the end of my university degree, and so she was leaving to go to sales. I got her job doing photocopying and delivering the mail. Yeah, primarily photocopying. It wasn't just one page here or there. It was, you know, full scripts and stuff in the days when TVNZ had a drama department in the building. Back in those days for TV3, getting into being across the commissioning of shows to fill the gaps that the international wasn't going to fill, that was fantastic. And actually, through my time at TV3, that's the stuff, when I look back on it, that I'm kind of the most proud of. And when I was in it, I probably didn't really realise quite what a good thing we had going on. But now I look back and I go, yeah, no, that was pretty good. I was good friends with Elizabeth Mitchell, who was the producer, and I went with her and Oscar Kitely for them to pitch me this show. And it was, and if you think about it now, New Zealanders go Brotown, oh yeah, that was cool. It was animated, Pacific Island comedy for prime time New Zealand television. That had winner written all over it. You know what I mean? You just wouldn't. And I remember going to Kristen and going, I think this could be really funny. I think this could be good. And her almost, you know, I think she just thought, yep, cool. You want to hang your hat on that? I think she sort of expected it to fail ultimately, but it didn't. It was great, and that was kind of probably my first one that I was closely involved with saying yes to. When Outrageous was coming through, New Zealand On Air was not being inundated with people coming in wanting drama shows at all. So in the first year we only did 13. I think in the second year we did 16 and we did 18. At its heyday we were doing 24, 25 episodes. You know, there's 108 hours of that show, including a Christmas special. But it didn't really start grabbing audiences until into its third season. And I just feel like now that's something that everybody should think about a little bit. We give up on stuff so easily in this market. Katerina Denavo lobbied so hard to get Robin Malcolm in the lead role as Cheryl West. And I was going, because of what Robin had done on Shortland Street and other shows, I was going, oh, I just don't see her as a Westie cat. I'm not convinced. And we went to the lunch that they, you know, and they lobbied me hard. And to Katerina's credit, she was completely right, of course. And but she was able to convince me, so that was good. I remember going out to sales agencies at the time and saying to them, we've got a new 9:30 show, Jeremy Corbett as host. And at that point, he hadn't really done any super successful TV things. And a bunch of comedians, and they'll be talking about the news of the week, and it'll be great. And people were like, yep, cool, that's going to be really fabulous. But it was, and the trick with it was, we had done so much before that we'd kind of worked out, well, we knew that you had to record for hours and hours and hours to get that tight half hour. And I think in the past, maybe the mistake that had been made with lots of those sorts of shows was trying to just go live, because god damn, we can all do with a good edit, can't we? And that is the magic of 7 days. Going along to the records, there's loads of people go every week and they have a great time. But for me, it's like pulling teeth, because it's hours and hours, and then, you know, most of it ends up on the cutting room floor. But what a great thing, because what it gave us was a bunch of talent, you know, and that is one of TV3's strengths still, is that they've got a deep kind of pool of amazing talent who you can move around and put on different projects and who are associated with the channel. We were kind of going for a bit of more of a grittier look with that show than I think what we necessarily ended up with, for lots and lots of reasons. Mainly because of what the network want, really, and I think TV2 is a very particular kind of network, and so, but the show sat really nicely in there. I think it's got potential too. We're still talking with the Americans about that show, because I think it could work incredibly well as an American, even as a half hour. That was the other thing, that show could have worked really, really well as half hours, but New Zealand networks, New Zealand doesn't really have time slots for New Zealand half hours. You New Zealand comedy half hours haven't really cut through yet. I took it to TV3, the people who, you know, I had used to be the person who made those decisions, and now those other, you know, so it was quite funny. And it was the first one really that I took into them. And at that time, I don't think they would have commissioned any drama because they were not in that zone at all. But it's such a no-brainer that I kind of went, this is the idea. You guys have a week to decide if you want it. And they went, you can't do that because that's not how it works. You know, you have to go through this whole big long process. And I went, nah, it's a really good idea. You know it's a good idea. I know it's a good idea. Like, it's kind of, and so yeah, they did decide to go with it. To their credit, good on them. But yeah, it's been such a fun show for everybody to work on. I just saw someone downstairs as I came in who said, "Yay, I get to go back to the 80s," because we've, you know, just got the okay to do the third series. Yeah, and again, I'm so pleased that we're doing a third series because we've got this incredible cast, this nice ensemble. They all fit together. There is so much that we can do with those characters, and the people who are playing them are all incredibly strong, great performances. So yeah, it's been a bit of a gift. The great thing about the Broken Wood Mysteries is it's very clear about what it is. And their mandate was really clear to start with too, which it wasn't about being shiny and glossy and being full of beautiful people. It was about creating a fantastic world where we are cranking through New Zealand actors in a massive way, but right across the scale, you know, people who are into their 70s or, I don't know, maybe even 80s, as well as people who are much, much younger and starting out. And so that's been it's been great because you've just got this incredibly wide range of people who you can include in the stories. But it's also sold amazingly well around the world, and I think the reason it's sold so well is because it's not a studio-based show, because it's showing New Zealand, the world that we live in. So the French, having picked it up and played it in prime time, is such, you know, we went, yay, it's exciting that has happened. And it makes me look at shows that we're making, and we always have an eye on the international, and Broken Wood has taught us some quite important lessons about that, I think, about how to appeal to that international market. When James and Maxine came up with the idea, they always had Eric Thompson in their minds, and of course he's associated with Channel 7. So to have Eric in the show, we kind of needed to have Channel 7's buy-in. I did have a fascinating conversation with the Australians at one point where they said, we just don't understand why you want to make it in New Zealand. I was like, oh, because we're New Zealanders. That's kind of the point. But fair enough. I give Channel 7 incredible credit because this was a huge risk for them. They didn't know us. They didn't know whether we could deliver. They didn't know what they were going to get. And they were going out on a limb with one of their biggest stars. And so that the first series of it, there was quite a lot of tension. Now that we're into the second season, it's a lot smoother. And of course, then it went out in Australia, and there was a lot of work through the editing and the post-production and all the rest of it. Everybody poured over that show, but it went out in Australia too, and it went gangbusters, which is fantastic. And again, Channel 7, old school, they promoted the hell out of it. They really, really, really got behind it, and I think that makes, guess what, that makes a big difference. The future for free-to-air broadcasting is local content, because it's what you have got that's exclusive. And that's why Netflix is wanting to make their own things. That's why Lightbox in this country won't really cut through until they make something that's their own. And that's why the free-to-airs still have a huge advantage. Make stuff that you cannot buy anywhere else. And so I think the future is, we've got 1 trillion platforms, whoopee. I personally don't think that we should spend as much time talking about platforms as we do, because Netflix is just another platform. YouTube, boy, everybody goes on and on about YouTube, like the YouTube. But there's a limited time that you can spend watching content on YouTube, and I'm not saying it's not important and that it's not a massive thing, it is, but it doesn't mean that we're not going to be making great television and you know, we call it television still, but it's whether it's on a television or on a computer screen, it's still drama or comedy or whatever. It's all about the content. So I kind of think things will shake down, and that hopefully eventually we'll stop freaking out quite so much about platforms. But the problem we've got currently is, you know, the model in terms of advertising and stuff is, and that's the bit that is causing all the chaos and the difficulty, because the networks are facing dropping revenue, and yeah, so it's how we work through that.